Hi, Jonathan.
Oh, Steve.
Can you hear me all right?
Certainly can.
Magic.
Is my audio working?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Jim
I'm just
Stone, Mr. Stone. How you, mate?
gonna... Hey, what's going on?
No, not much, pal. Not much. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm just eating McDonald's. I'm gonna get on the road here and I'm gonna be recruiting down your way this weekend.
What are you doing? Are you doing GA games?
Yeah, one of our kids from Omaha is playing against
Yeah.
TFE, so I gotta catch that game. And then
That's,
I'm gonna kind of make
that's
it.
tomorrow night, though, Jimmy, isn't it? Is that 6 o'clock tomorrow night? Like 6:10 or something?
I think that one's late. It's a late one. It's like 8 o'clock, but
Oh, she
I'm
must be
gonna
in the older team, huh?
yeah, I'm gonna make a few rounds. I'm actually gonna go to TFE. What game is it tomorrow? It's over St. Croix tomorrow morning at 9:30 in Lakeville.
Right.
TFE. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know, kind of do the circuit.
Yeah.
What are you
I'll
up
see.
to?
I'll be at a couple of games. I'm coaching a boys team as well. I'm doing the TCSL reps thing, so
Okay,
yeah, I'll be doing that. So anyway,
gotcha. All right,
Fellas,
well,
hey, thank you very much for giving up your time tonight. I really appreciate it. As you can see, there's a lot of people that have some questions on stuff on college. The purpose of this is, to give those kids' families an idea of what's coming next. Also, any preparation they might need to make, but also they're going to have a connection with you on any of your camps or any stuff like that you can get them any kind of exposure that they need. As I found being a dad that put his kid through college there, it's a big world. It's very daunting, and the more support and people out there that we can get to help, the better. What I thought I'd just run through these slides, and you can jump in as you see fit, and just give us your take on where they're at, if what you feel is of most use. And then if anyone listening there has got any questions that you want to tip tap on, we can respond to that too. It's being recorded. It's going to be sent out as well. I've had a lot of requests of kids that are on the field tonight that are going to be watching in. So I'll let you guys take it away if you want to talk about preparation.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, hello everybody. My name's Steve Bellis. I'm at Concordia University in St. Paul. I'm the head coach there. I've been at CSP for about 13 years. We're a small private Division II school. Prior to being at Concordia, I was the head coach at St. Kate's, which is a small private Division III school in St. Paul. And then prior to that, I was at McAllister College, also a small private Division III school in St. Paul. So originally from Manchester in the UK. I've come across Jonathan on on lots of occasions, and he's always been great to work with. So I'm more than happy to to be a resource for you guys as a as a program, and then obviously for Jonathan if he has specific questions as well. So that's me. We've got Jim Stone on the call, and I'll let Jim just jump in and kind of do a quick intro, and then we'll talk about this first slide. Jim, that's kind of your cue to jump in. There you go, mate.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I am kind of living the college life here as a coach and in transit right now, actually heading down to the Twin Cities to do some recruiting. So that's why it took me a little while to unmute there as I'm eating my McDonald's cheeseburger here. So yeah, like Steve said, my name is Jim Stone. I'm at Bemidji State. We are Division II, a public state school in the same conference that CSB competes in, the Northern Sun. I've been there for over a couple of decades now. Prior to that, I was at Augsburg College helping out there as an assistant for the men and women for a couple of years. I also did some club stuff down in the Twin Cities. I actually worked for Steve when Steve was running the Wing Soccer Club, which merged eventually and became MTA. So grew up in the Twin Cities playing the game, fell in love with it, and have been in it ever since. And yeah, thanks for having me on, and feel free to throw any questions my way that might come up.
Thanks, Jimmy. I put in the chat there. If you have specific questions, once we run through the slides that Jonathan's prepared, if you don't feel like you've had your question answered, feel free to pop it in there, and then before we leave the call, we'll have a quick look at the chat questions, and we'll do our best to answer as many as possible. So, and I didn't write this slide, but with regard to preparing your athlete, or if you're an athlete on the call, preparing yourself for collegiate athletics, whether it be soccer or not, I think these are all pretty much on point. Academically, each school will have different standards for being accepted and different GPAs, and not many schools these days, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, require ACTs or SAT scores. So obviously doing well in the classroom and maintaining a good GPA, which obviously starts at the beginning of your high school career, is of value for sure. And then athletically, the preparation as an athlete obviously is playing at a level that's good for you, kind of figuring out your strengths and weaknesses, and then ultimately as you get a little bit older, sophomore, junior year in high school, start to think about collegiate levels, what would be a good fit for you. I think most club coaches would be able to help you with that. And if not, club directors will be able to give you some guidance on that. And I've also got a daughter in college, and she had aspirations of playing Division I college, and that wasn't where she would play, and it wasn't a good fit for her. And then ultimately, she's decided to play intramural soccer, which is fine also. So we'll get to that in a little bit. College ID camps. I think, Jim, do you want to talk about the value of college ID camps?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stereotypes or kind of ways they get typecast. I think they kind of get typecast often as, this is just a fundraiser for the program. They're not going to really look at you. And maybe that's true, like in a really large institution, where they're having 350 campers and really it's such an elite level. They're really only looking at 1 or 2 kids in the camp. But I think I can speak for the small colleges. When we run a ID camp, we really are running it with the intention that we're going to find a few kids. And we've had kids in our program. Like we had one of our best freshmen last year. She came to our camp. We didn't know her from Adam, really impressed us. We offered her immediately after the camp, and and she made an impact for us this past fall. She was one of our first kids coming off the bench and scored a few goals. And so I think there's real value in getting on to a campus and getting a feel for it, because that's a big piece of it too. It works both ways. It's not just good for that staff to be able to evaluate and get to know kids. It's good for all the kids coming to our campuses, because they're evaluating us and they're saying, hey, would this campus be a fit? Would this coaching staff be a fit? So I think it's just a positive experience on all sides of it.
Thanks, Jim. I'm looking at a few of these, Jonathan. I think we might actually get to these in some of the other slides. Is it okay if you just skip on to the next slide?
Absolutely.
And then this will be a little bit more in year order. As a sophomore, obviously, like we said at the beginning, is make sure that your GPA is where it needs to be and that you're doing well in the classroom. I don't know if schools mandate ACT anymore. My college doesn't. You could use it if it was a good ACT score, and usually in regards to academic scholarships. And most colleges, if not all colleges, will offer some kind of an academic scholarship, and they'll vary, depending on private, public, small, large, or whatever it may be. And they're pretty easy to find if you log on to any school's website and you put in the search bar academic scholarship. That'll give you a good idea of what the cost of the school would be, and then kind of a sliding scale of what a GPA of a 3.6, for example, would get you in terms of academic scholarship money. And then, like I say, some schools take ACT, some schools don't. Play year-round soccer for sure. With that said, I've got players on my team that were two-sport athletes. I think at a Division II level, it's hard to do that actually in college. However, in high school, I have no issue with that. I think that's healthy. Actually, I've just watched the kid play basketball, and we're recruiting her to play soccer for us. So that's certainly okay with me. But playing year-round soccer, putting yourself out there and playing for your high school is of value, I think, still. And then ODP or TCSL reps or whatever it's called, trying to play at the highest level possible is obviously something very important. And then Jonathan's touched on it here, resume, a soccer resume that should include the basics, obviously, and name and phone number and email. If you've got Instagram account or if you've got a link to YouTube to highlights, we'll come to that in a minute, I guess. So starting to create a soccer resume is of value. And in those early sophomore years, just to kind of fill that out, I would definitely put in all your soccer activities. And then as you're a youngster, just start to think about, do you want to play in college, what that kind of commitment would look like, and start to kind of keep note of that. You want to do the next slide, JT? All right. Jimmy, can you see that? Do you want to do this one?
I probably can't see it good enough.
Okay, mate.
To do it justice, so I better sit out. whenever you want me to jump in, just tell
No worries, mate. No worries. So as a junior, you can now be contacted by coaches. So June 15th of your junior year, going into your junior year, coaches can now contact you. However, I think most of the communication should probably come from the athlete. There's very few student athletes that are going to be contacted directly. I think, it usually works in the other direction. So obviously start to compile a list of schools that you're interested in, and then start to consider emailing coaches. In any original email that you send to a coach, I would keep it brief. I would keep it very specific. I would mention something about the school that interests you. I get a lot of emails that are just generic, random. And to be honest with you, I usually just hit delete. I also get a lot of emails from companies that charge you to do this for you. I think a good student athlete should be able to dig out my email address from our website and send me a half decent note that lets me know they're interested. Tell me what club you play for, tell me about your coach and any upcoming games, and then obviously attach your soccer resume in that first letter. Sorry, I'm just skimming through here a little bit. Attend college fairs, yeah, for sure. Start to read college literature. Yeah, I think that kind of covers the junior year. Continue playing as much as you can and at the highest level that's a good fit for you.
On your resume, Steve and Jim, how interested are you in positional specifics? Is goalkeeper an area that you're looking for?
Yeah, that's a good one. So at the top, name, position, grad year. Grad year is huge. So we want to make sure that we're not breaking NCAA rules. So at the minute we can talk with students that are going to graduate in 2025 and 2024, but we cannot be talking to players that are going to graduate in 2026. Not yet. So yeah, grad year is huge and positions very important. If a player plays multiple positions, that's okay to put it on there. For some coaches, that's attractive. You know, if they're not sure that they need a left back, but we know this kid could play left wing as well, that's a plus for a lot of coaches. All right, probably the most important years, to be honest, junior, senior year. And again, it really would be important that you market yourself. If you know that you want to go play college soccer and you've started to look at schools and kind of broken it down by location, size, cost obviously comes into play here a little bit. Soccer division. Is it a successful soccer program? Are they winning the conference every year? Are they making the NCAA tournament? So, you know, if you want to look at those kind of things and kind of start to tailor it down to, 9 or 10 schools or whatever it may be, and then reach out to those coaches on a consistent basis. If you don't get a reply from those coaches, it doesn't mean they're not interested. I promise you, I get a lot of emails and a lot of contacts. I think sometimes you've just got to catch them at the right time. So it's okay to send a few emails. If after a few emails and you're not getting a reply, it's okay to leave a voice message. And if that doesn't do the trick, that's usually a good sign that they're not interested in you. And then obviously start the application process sorry, let me skip back a little bit. Campus visits. In junior and senior year, you must get out and go and see the campus. That's of massive value. Make sure that you are able to meet the team, talk with professors, obviously talk to the admission staff, meet the coaching staff, look at the facilities, get a good feel for the school. Most admissions departments can set those up for you, but a coach that is really interested in recruiting you would set that up for you as well. So we do probably half-day visits for local kids. So you'll come in and do 3 or 4 hours with us. For students that are out of state, we'll probably do a full day visit that could also include taking part in a training session. So that's the campus visit. You'll have a chance to obviously meet the coach face to face and get a good feel for their interest in you and your interest in them. And then once you narrow it down, start the application process, make sure that you're going to be accepted, look at the cost of the school and the financial side of things and make sure everything lines up. And then from there, it's committing and making a commitment to that college and then also to that coach and that team. Jim, what did I miss? I bet I missed a bunch there. I kind of ran through.
Well, I had a few thoughts. I think I would agree with you, with those, with the college scouting services. I will say if someone was truly open to going anywhere and you haven't figured out those parameters, there may be some value in those because they get shot out to so many different places. But if you're able to kind of create the parameters like Steve was talking about, like, okay, I want to be 8 hours within home, a car drive within home. I want a medium-sized school. It has to have nursing. The soccer program has to look like this. And so you're able to narrow it down to 8 to 10 schools, then I would completely agree that, you probably don't need to spend any extra money with that. If you truly were open to kind of going anywhere and just spraying around your resume here, there, and everywhere, there could be some value. One of the things that kind of I thought about as you were talking, Steve, was when it gets time to visit a campus, sometimes there's some irony and there's kind of there's a bit of a tension sometimes. So there's a tension in the sense that your club schedule is really busy, but then one of the goals or objectives of playing maybe at a high level club could potentially be to play college soccer. So what I'm getting at is you have to really be really intentional about getting on someone's campus. And sometimes your calendar may be packed. You got to find a time to get on their campus and pay a visit. And you have to just kind of communicate with your club coach, like, hey, is it okay if I miss this practice? Or, if maybe it's a game that's not a league game, because this is something you've been working for a long time. And at a certain time period, if you're not able to get on campus, that coach is going to go in a different direction then. So when it kind of gets to that time period where it's time to take a campus visit, you have to be intentional and you have to make your calendar work, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Yep. Next slide, please, JT. Yeah, I think I kind of touched on this a little bit in terms of finding the right fit, and the words right fit, are often bantered around when you're choosing a college, and these are all good questions, to be honest. I think it's really of personal preference at this point. So, my school is very urban. We're right on the edge of St. Paul. We're very close to Allianz Stadium. We're virtually downtown. So if a player is looking for that kind of environment, then obviously we would be a good fit. However, if you consider Jim's school, which is up in Bemidji, which is out in the sticks a little bit, but on a lake, and it's got its beauty up there as well. It's very different. So also, I think all of these questions are all valid questions as you start working with your player, or if your player's on the phone here. These are things that I would definitely consider. And I think the question number one here, in what division does the school play, and kind of what level could I play at, is probably a better way to put it. You're going to have to lean very, very strongly on your club coaches, on your high school coach, but then go to a ID camp or the college ID camp and just see where you fit. I think if the standard is a good fit for you and you felt you did pretty well, then that's probably a good indicator. If the coach reached out afterwards and it's a Division II school, then that's probably a good indicator. Yeah, these are all great questions.
Steve,
Legit.
knowing about the level of top level soccer in Minnesota in relation to Division II, Division I, Division III, where do you feel our NPLs, Super NPLs, and are in relation to what you're going to get on the field in the fall?
I am also a soccer parent. I have a 12-year-old that plays soccer, and she's played NPL, and now she's playing ECNL, and she's seen GA, and I'm probably missing about 12 other levels and different leagues and stuff. I think that's a really tough question, JT. I think that's probably more tailored towards the individual player. There's definitely diamonds that play at a lower level that could play at a Division Two level for sure. I think if you're looking specifically to play Division One, generally, as you get into your sophomore, junior, senior year, you would be playing at the highest level that you could. And in Minnesota, that's ECNL and then it's GA. It doesn't mean that if you don't play at those levels, that you couldn't play at a collegiate level. I just think that it's going to be a bit more of a challenge in terms of being identified. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, since I've been here at the club, we've had on the girls' side, we've had 4 that have gone Division One, and on the boys' side, I think only 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And looking at what level they played at a decent level in the state, and they were good players in the club and in high school. And when they get to college, they realize that the game definitely gets faster. It gets bigger, and you know they're now it's a real big challenge there to compete. So
Yeah, I think honestly it would vary from individual to individual. It's hard to say that if you don't, if you play MPL, then you'd be able to play Division Three. I just don't know. I don't think that's possible. I think you'd have to take it on a case by case basis. Jim, am I right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think obviously when we're going out and we're assessing players, the higher level of play that's happening on the field, the easier it is to assess. So if someone's at a ECNL Final Four game, let's say, and you're watching a player and they're having success, certainly you kind of know, hey, this player is going to have success in most places, but it gets more difficult in gray to assess a high school game in rural Iowa. But the reality is in that high school game in rural Iowa, there still might be a player that could be a difference maker in your program. So I think it is a case by case basis. And, I certainly know, like even this weekend, I'll be at GA games, but I'll also be at some MPL games too. So I know at the Division Two level, if you were to try to categorize, like, we'll have our eyes, here, there, and everywhere, really, because I do think there's players everywhere. But I would generally speaking echo what Steve said, that the higher the level you can get to, the easier it is to kind of determine where you might sit at the next level, because you're surrounded by more of those players who are going to be playing at that level. But yeah, there's players everywhere, and I think the level of soccer continues to grow because the coaching is improving, and there's more year-round training. So you're finding more and more players that can play at higher levels in various places.
I'm on your next slide here. Yeah, these are good questions. So when you go and talk to a coach, you want to make sure that the roster size is manageable. My roster size is 32 right now. I think it's a little large. We'll probably get down to 30 in the next year or so. There's certainly teams in our conference that have rosters that are a lot bigger than that. But that's pretty good for us. 30 is what I'm looking for. We don't generally redshirt players unless they're injured. If a player comes in and gets injured prior to playing for us, then we'd probably redshirt them and hope that they would recover and be good for the year after. But generally, we don't do that. The playing time question. This is a tough one, and again, it's probably more a case by case basis. I play freshmen. I don't care how old they are. We have to put our strongest team out. Last year we had a kid that played, a good chunk of time, but there wasn't many freshmen that could do that for our team last year, and that'll vary from year to year. But that's definitely a great question to ask a coach. Yeah, are you recruiting other players in that position? I would say most college coaches that have got things lined up would be recruiting, 2, 3, 4 players for every position that they need for their squad. For us, for example, this year we're looking for 2025. We're looking to bring in 1 winger, but we know that we have to be smart, so we'll recruit about 4 or 5 wingers, and we'll see how it goes from there. So,
Can I jump in there, Steve?
yeah, of course, yeah.
So I think that's a really important thing to think about for a kid is what role am I going to be happy with? Because I think what happens often is someone maybe is suited, and even when I say this, I'm labeling, because the reality is there's really good Division III teams, there's really good Division II teams, there's really good Division I teams. I would say the difference is at the Division I level, you could have a team go, they could go 1-15, they have 1 win, 15 losses, and it's still a high level because it's Division I. They have 14 scholarships, and they're signing players. So whereas in D3 could maybe have a lower level team, but there's good teams at every level. But I think sometimes a kid will be suited to be successful, like let's say at the Division III level, but they'll get enamored with the Division II label, and they go there and they maybe have more of a supportive role, and it takes a while to break in, or maybe they never really break into that starting lineup, and then that becomes kind of a mental, emotional struggle for them. Or the kid who could have some success at Division II, but they get really enamored with that kind of Division I label. So I think it is important to think about what's going to make me happy, and maybe just being a part of this program because the university is a good fit and because I like the culture of the program. Really, that's all I need. But if it's, hey, I need minutes by this time in my career, then you really have to do your homework and really kind of figure out the level you're getting yourself into. And I think one of the best ways to do that is by watching games live. If you can get on a campus and watch a game live, you can get a pretty decent understanding of the level of play and how you'd fit in. So I don't know if you'd have anything to add to that, Steve.
No, it's on point. All right, JT. Go on, Jimmy.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I think it's one of the hardest things, though, to answer as a coach and even as a player. I remember playing, and I remember kind of watching and thinking I was going to, jump right into it. And then when I got there, realizing, oh, that's why it looked a little bit sloppy at times in the field, was because the speed of play was so high and it was so physical. And so I think it's an important thing to really think about and try to dig into, but it's also one that's really hard to kind of find a firm answer to, too.
All right, last slide.
Yeah, these are good questions. Most coaches have probably seen you play if they're interested in you, for sure. High school soccer is, for me, not as prominent in our recruiting plans as club soccer. Obviously, we play in the fall. High school plays in the fall. The scheduling to get out and watch high school games is challenging. And then obviously, ultimately, most high school games are sometimes nowhere near as competitive as club games. And that can vary, obviously, from high school to high school. So the club stuff that you guys do in in the winter and spring and summer is super valuable for college coaches. Obviously, let them know which tournaments you're going to attend and send us the schedule. Make sure we have your jersey number and send it a few times. And as you run up to go into an event or a tournament, just make sure that you resend that email with a copy of your resume. I know I usually, print that off and take it with me, or we've got a little spreadsheet going that we have 2 coaches that go out and recruit. So that's definitely of value. So, and then if you're interested in a college, let your club coach know or let your high school coach know so that they can expect an email or a phone call from the college coach to get a reference. I usually get a reference pretty quickly if a kid writes to us. If it's easy enough, I'll just shoot the coach a quick email and get a character reference. Character's super important for me. Obviously, soccer's very important. Athletic ability is very important, but we don't want egos. We don't want drama queens. So getting a good character reference from your club or high school coach is massive as well. So definitely of value.
And Steve, you can jump in here too in regards to video, but if you're able to have a video link on your resume, sometimes it's easy for coaches to see someone play, and sometimes it's difficult. We're on a bit of an island, so even for someone in the Twin Cities, it's not easy for me to have access to something. But video can be a great filler. So if I get a video and I like the video, then I'm more likely to make the effort to watch that player live. And there's been rare occasion where we have just literally taken someone off a video. So I think video can be a great tool in the recruiting process. I don't know what your thoughts are, Steve.
I think COVID kind of made it that way, to be honest. During COVID, it was impossible to see players play. So the addition of video, and the video can be highlights, it can be a full game. I generally prefer highlights, to be honest, because I just don't have time to watch a full game. So if you're creating a video or a highlight reel or whatever you want to call it, make sure it is highlights. I open too many where it's like, okay, that wasn't really impressive. That first clip should be, if you're a winger, it should be you whipping a cross in or cutting inside and finishing. If you're a goalkeeper, it should be a good save or a good connection or whatever it may be. Make sure your first couple of clips are like your best ones, because that's going to suck a coach in to be a bit more interested. I really don't have like that much time where I have to watch 10, 15 clips and you only see 1 or 2 good things. And if you're not sure what a good thing is, obviously use your club coach or your high school coach as a resource, and they can probably walk you through it as well and help you put a video together. And I think YouTube is pretty easy just to download your highlights onto YouTube. I watch a lot of stuff on there. But that's how I would go about it.